Welcome to another camera comparison. Let me tell you that I always take all the images in auto mode with auto HDR on because I think most of the average people takes photos in auto mode. Okay, if you like this video then please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel.
We don't have to go back to what we used to.
Let's start with ultra wide shots. There are a few differences between these two. Both got their own pros and cons, and I think the main difference remains in details, texture processing and sharpness. OnePlus 8 Pro has more details and sharpness, but most of the time there is a purple type tint that hurts ultra wide pictures. White balance is pretty similar, but most of the time it jumps back and forth between these two smartphones based on light source and ambient light condition. Color temperature is definitely better on Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro, but there is a slight saturation, and considering all the attributes, it seems OnePlus 8 Pro has produced more natural ultra-wide photos. On the other hand, Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro produced eye-pleasing, lucrative ultra-wide photos. We all know that OnePlus has this white balance issue almost on all OnePlus smartphones. I found this ugly warm tone under bright daylight, and that really makes me frustrated. Also, things are almost totally different on main sensor than ultra-wide sensor. Now OnePlus 8 Pro saturated the images a bit and lost a bit of details in the shadows. Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro gone a little dark. Not only that, Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro color rendition gone a bit wild. You can see in this cropped in image, in some part of the car it's more like pink than red, but in terms of details in the shadow, Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro did really good. In some pictures, Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro even processed more textures with sharpness, but that poor color grading really hurts. Anyway, a lot depends on personal preference, and here these are 3x zoom images. As Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro doesn't have any telephoto lens, it offers digital zoom, and OnePlus 8 Pro with its 3x telephoto lens obviously performs better. This is not only surprising but amazing to see that even without a telephoto lens, how Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro has managed to grab a lot of details and processed more details in the shadows and midtones. This is the most important part of this comparison. We will go through a lot of differences and similarities. The first thing you would notice is white balance. OnePlus 8 Pro continued to produce images with warm tone, and Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro kept its cool tone. Other than that, Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro sometimes unnecessarily increased shadows and exposed the whole image. It happens under harsh or very bright lighting condition, especially when there is a direct light source pointed to the lens. I always say this. Yes, white balance and color tone can be fixed or edited if necessary at a later point, but you cannot add more details, you cannot add structural sharpness while editing. In most cases, I found that Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro grabs enough details, but side by side with OnePlus 8 Pro or Xiaomi Mi 10 Ultra, Mi 10T Pro actually falls a lot behind. Also, due to its aperture and shutter speed, Mi 10T Pro fails to process and reproduce moving objects. In this picture, you can clearly see the differences, but if you have time, if your subject is not moving, then you can grab a better photo like this. Skin tone and color grading looks a bit pale on Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro. Due to better white balance, colors are more close to reality on Mi 10T Pro, but skin tone is actually better on OnePlus 8 Pro. I may have already mentioned, but once again, both of these two comes with Pro mode, and if you have enough time, then you can dial in. You can work a bit to get a perfect shot on both of these two smartphones, but that takes time. Are you enjoying this video? Please subscribe to this channel and turn on notification. Also, there is an international smartphone giveaway going on for subscribers to this channel. In auto mode, there is no such consistency on Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro. There is no trend that you can follow to minimize the issues. I believe Xiaomi will fix these with new updates. Despite all these issues, dynamic range of Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro is really good. It is as good as OnePlus 8 Pro, if not better. Sometimes the difference is not visible at a glance, But after grabbing hundreds of pictures and after comparing those side by side, Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro dynamic range is even better than Xiaomi Mi 10 Pro. But like other Xiaomi smartphones, it fails to detect well-lit areas and it applies the same exposure throughout the image rather than selective exposure on OnePlus 8 Pro. I must mention that contrast ratio of Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro can be fixed using manual focus input. With autofocus, sometimes it fails to maintain highlights and vibrance as it always tries to beautify and brighten up the subject. Details in the shadows and texture processing on Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro is like a ride on the roller coaster in indoor artificial low light environment. Sometimes it's perfect and to the point and sometimes it's totally not even close to OnePlus 8 Pro. I am not surprised to see that there is a huge difference in night mode performance. Other than Google stock camera, OnePlus has developed one of the best nightscape or night mode algorithm. Yes, Xiaomi Mi 10 Ultra is better than OnePlus 8 Pro in night mode, but this Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro is not as good as OnePlus 8 Pro. Yes, once again, there are pros and cons of both. OnePlus 8 Pro has that ugly white balance, warm color tone. If it detects a face, then sometimes aggressively beautifies, which makes things soft, but that's more like a random thing. White balance, sharpness, details in the shadows, color rendition and texture processing. In every segment, this OnePlus 8 Pro is better than Mi 10T Pro. I wish Xiaomi would release less smartphones but with better stock camera application and optimized software. Do you agree with me? Things are no different when we switch to portrait mode. Yes, OnePlus 8 Pro can grab portrait photos with 3x telephoto lens and we will talk about that later. Mi 10T Pro has to use its main sensor to grab the portrait shots. Edge detection is good on both, but it's a bit better on OnePlus 8 Pro. Bokeh effect on OnePlus 8 Pro is lucrative cause it creates creamy bokeh, and Mi 10T Pro sometimes goes a bit aggressive with the blurriness, and as I have tried to manually tune the aperture, it almost lost the bokeh effect. OnePlus 8 Pro grabbed more details in the shadows and produced brighter portraits under low light. Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro processed more details and textures on subject and skin tone is true to life. These are daytime portrait photos and yes, you can see that there is a clear difference in performance. When we have tried to take portrait photos under bright sunlight in outdoor environment, then things changed a bit. Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro continued to add aggressive blurriness, but I am surprised to see it has processed more details. Separation line blend also got much better than nighttime portrait. But OnePlus 8 Pro has even better rendering and processed very sharp images without any crazy artifacts at the edges. Moving on to selfie camera, and there is a drastic difference in performance. OnePlus 8 Pro continues to reproduce photos with better color rendering and skin tone. Under bright lighting conditions, Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro washed out background with very high exposure. Compared to Mi 10T Pro, OnePlus 8 Pro has wider dynamic range and more details. It also worth mentioning that Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro occasionally saturates images with higher midtones. These are selfie portraits and white balance issue gets bigger on Mi 10T Pro. Don't worry, this is not a fixed trend, it happens once in a while under bright lighting condition. Actually, white balance and color temperature randomly jumps back and forth between these two smartphones. In terms of edge detection, separation line blend and details, both are pretty similar, but once again OnePlus 8 Pro has a bit better bokeh effect.
We don't have to go back to what we used to.
Here comes the selfie video. Oh, don't worry, I am here, right behind the model Samara. I thought you'd like to see her more. Anyway, I have never been fond of OnePlus 8 Pro selfie camera due to its poor exposure, and yes, Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro actually grabbed more details, processed more textures and exposure is far better than OnePlus 8 Pro selfie camera. White balance and color rendition is pretty similar, but overall I am truly happy to see the performance of Mi 10T selfie video. What do you think? Please don't forget to share your thoughts and ideas in the comment section below. Yes, both of these two smartphones got OIS on the main sensors and offers very good stabilization. Dynamic range is better on OnePlus 8 Pro. Not only that, skin tone is close to reality and colors are vibrant and true to life. On the other hand, Mi 10T Pro color tone is a bit pale. Exposure and contrast ratio is also not as good as OnePlus 8 Pro. In terms of details and sharpness, both are close, but I think OnePlus 8 Pro has processed more textures and it looks sharper. Okay, it's time to wrap up. I'm not gonna give any verdict. I wanna know your verdict. Please don't forget to share your thoughts and ideas in the comment section. Also, if you have liked this video, then please don't forget to click on the like button and subscribe to this channel.